can't quite shift the suspicion in my mind that Gareth Southgate's just a little bit too conservative, really. To go into this game with Calvin Phillips and Declan Rice, two holding midfielders, just thought was a little bit cautious, given the opposition on display. It worked, right? Okay, England won 2-0, and it was, I guess it was comfortable. But whilst it was comfortable in the end, it felt a little bit laboured, didn't it? It felt, I don't know, quite difficult to sort of get behind them and get amongst them. That being said, I do think the Harry Kane goal was very good, but it looked to be almost the first occasion when they sort of got wide, and I think Mason Mount played it back to Luke Shaw, who crossed it over, and Harry Kane headed it in. There's a few things and a few members of the team I want to talk about. Firstly, we'll talk about Declan Rice, because I thought he played very, very well indeed. Yes, take into account the opposition, as we did do in the previous game. And as I've already said, we look forward to the next game when everybody will be a lot more tested. I was disappointed that he played 90 minutes, but I guess Southgate couldn't save everybody. I was surprised, actually, to see even Harry Kane stay on as well. But Declan played well. I thought it's hard to say that was Declan Rice's best game. If you saw right at the end that pass he played through to Stirling, I mean, it's just a beautiful pass, long-range pass. His passing, I understand, Gio told me his passing was at 97, 98% for the game, which was very good. I think it would have been interesting playing alongside Phillips, but it certainly would have been very nice for him playing alongside his best mate as a kid growing up, Mason Mount. That must have been a dream that they both, well, we know it was because they've both spoken about it. So, you know, all was good there, and I've maintained for quite some time that I think Declan Rice is one of the first names on the team sheet. He is in the starting 11. The commentators were speculating that maybe Mason Mount was also in that bracket as well. Yeah, quite possibly. It's going to be interesting to see what happens, bearing in mind Phil Foden started, what happens with Jack Grealish, because Jack Grealish is immensely talented, and I think, like in that first half where England were sort of struggling to find the key to unlock the opposition, that's what Grealish does. Grealish is able to do that. We weren't able to feed Harry Kane, although we eventually did, and he scored. I thought, when you've got a striker that good, you've got to have something in place to get him the ball more often. And whilst there were, I guess, three players there in Raheem Sterling, Mason Mount and Phil Foden set up to give him the ball, just thought the two holding midfielders was unnecessary. And it was unnecessary, and you saw all that because when Southgate changed and brought Calvin Phillips off, who I thought played okay, by the way, and I think he's a good player, looks a really neat player, but what he did is he brought on Ward-Prowse, and Ward-Prowse played in a more advanced position. So I think Southgate realised it wasn't working. As I say, just a little bit too cautious. Maybe this group doesn't come down to goal difference, as I suggested in yesterday's video, but it might do. So the game against Poland is going to be massive. That's on Wednesday, by the way. Just on some of the players there, though. Raheem Sterling was a bit... he's a funny one, Sterling. He's very quick travelling with the ball at his feet, but sometimes he looks like he hasn't got a trick, if you know what I mean. He's trying to beat people by pace or by knocking the ball past them. It's weird. You would say he's a technical player, but there's not an awful lot of flair there. If that makes any sense to, I just have the suspicion that Jadon Sancho is the better option, or even Marcus Rashford is the better option. Because Marcus Rashford's got a hell of a shot on him. And I think he seems to be... He's also got a little trick as well to go past a player. There was a couple of bits of clumsiness as well, I thought, for the one, if you remember when Harry Kane got fouled, he slid in, it looked like he'd fouled the two defenders, but he'd actually slid in, got the ball and shot wide. He tried to hook it back, he tried to control it, actually he tried to shoot with his left foot, didn't he? Sterling, he just did a complete air shot. I don't know, I think I just remain a little bit unconvinced by him. Yet every time I see Jadon Sancho, I think, wow, there's a player, there's a really, really good player there. Obviously, he's been unavailable for this. You know, so be it. I would have liked to have seen Jude Bellingham. I thought Ward-Prowse was fine when he came on, but I think at that point I would have liked to have seen Bellingham, who seems to travel between the lines very, very well indeed, and pose an even greater goal threat. I do, as I say, think it was interesting that Mount stayed on, that Declan Rice stayed on, that Harry Kane stayed on. So maybe Southgate never ever felt that game was ever truly comfortable. But it was interesting. It was interesting. Look, job done. Wednesday's the big game. I'm not going to try and make a 15-minute video out of this. There isn't one. No, those are just my thoughts on the game. I do think the left back is very interesting because we've got... I thought Chilwell played well. I know it was San Marino. I think Chilwell's a good player. I thought Shaw obviously provided a good cross, and he's obviously in good form. But I do think there's an interesting dynamic there. The right back is interesting as well, actually. Walker. Really good competition for places. Crazy, actually, how many right backs we got. Walker's fast. Again, lacks the final technical ability. Actually, the commentator said it at one point, didn't he? There's a bit of skill flair didn't work, so he used a bit of Sheffield steel. As he's from Sheffield, of course, originally. I just feel that Reece James, Alexander-Arnold, Trippier, all of them actually, I feel that all of them have more technical ability than Walker, although Walker obviously is the quickest, and we know that Southgate likes him because when Southgate deploys three at the back, then he often plays Walker as that one to play in that role. I don't know, look, interesting enough. Mason Mount took his goal very well, didn't he? Sorry, yes, probably not spoken about him enough. He does seem to be a favourite for Southgate. So I think that's 2 games he's played well in back-to-back there. I did think he opened up himself and curled the ball in. The commentator said he caressed the ball into the goal. Kissed it all the way in. Good goal. Good player. Played well. Nice for him to do it alongside his mate Declan Rice. That's it. Look, we move on to Wednesday. Let's have a look what happens.